Bad Batch Season 2 Episode 6 sees the return of Gungi, a Jedi Padawan featured in Star Wars The Clone Wars. We also see a return to the planet of Kashyyyk. This Star Wars location has featured heavily in modern Star Wars media, as a world once loyal to the Republic, now an enemy of the Empire. The Empire practically razed this world and enslaved the population to do their bidding. Not only this, but we also do see more of the Trandoshans. This species has always intrigued me. We do get a Clone Wars arc with them, however I remember them from Star Wars Republic Commando. Still, the Trandoshans remain a fearsome species in this episode alone. However, I wish we'd spent more time on Kashyyyk, exploring what episodes here and what the Empire is doing. It would make sense. Greetings my young Padawans, my name is Captain Jack and welcome to Star Wars Now. We're talking about the latest episode of The Bad Batch in full detail. As such, you've been warned. Okay, let's go. Honestly, this episode is my favourite of The Bad Batch so far. Not only do we go to Kashyyyk, but we also reunite of Gungi, a minor character from Star Wars The Clone Wars who greatly impacts this episode. He survives Order 66, and it's rather touching to see his story revisited in The Bad Batch. However, we all know what happens to the planet of Kashyyyk from playing Jedi Fallen Order and exploring other Star Wars media. Seeing Gungi go back to his home planet is awesome, yet it reminds us that not many Jedi Padawans or survivors of Order 66 ever get this chance. Many never revisit their original homeworld or own people after joining the Jedi Order. A moment which stood out to me was Hunter and Clone Force 99's reaction to seeing a Jedi. They jumped straight into the action of saving them, but not before being stunned for a few seconds at their discovery. We all see Gungi being apprehensive about trusting the clone troopers, knowing full well what they have done. Well, not them specifically, but you know what I mean. Another moment that stands out is Hunter's conversation with Yana, the Wookiee tribe leader. A somewhat repeated phrase, albeit in different ways, is that both Omega and Gungi are just children, yet they never get to be children because of the galaxy they're growing up in. It is a stark cold reminder that no one is safe anymore with the rise of the Galactic Empire. You know, I was listening to the Season 7 of the Clone Wars soundtrack while writing this review, and it's kinda depressing. I'm not gonna lie, the safety of the once great Galactic Republic has gone, and the Empire is here to stay. Ultimately, this episode is a heartwarming message about family and hope. Whenever you think of it like that, there are two core messages of Star Wars. We're also seeing the parental instinct of Hunter and Echo. We also see by the ending of the episode, Echo's statement that Hunter wants to walk away from the war, but Clone Force 99 finds a new path for Omega and themselves, which is walking away from the Empire for good. For us as viewers, the question remains, will that ever happen for the Bad Batch? Circling back around again, I would have preferred if we'd seen more of the Trandoshans. Therefore once again I say this episode needed more time, or rather it needed another episode to go along with it. Think back to the likes of a Trandoshan arc from the Clone Wars. You know, the episode where Ahsoka gets kidnapped and ends up working with other Padawans and a somewhat famous Wookiee. We do see the Trandoshans get some limelight, but it would have been such cool to see them actually argue with the clone troopers and actually go on the hunts we've seen them do before. Still, the art detailing and design holds up from what we've seen before. I think likely due to their incompetence in dealing with the Wookiees, it's what draws the Empire to crack down harder on Kashyyyk. Therefore, you could say that Clone Force 99's interference on the planet will cause the eventual harder crackdown that we've seen in the likes of Jedi Fallen Order. I'm sure it'll be a few more years before the Empire actually does come around and do this, though the Ahsoka novel, which is slowly being retconned by Tales of the Jedi, and The Bad Batch did mention Commander Cody being involved in the subjugation of Kashyyyk. But with him now going AWOL, it does bring that into question. Likely the book is just not being regarded as canon anymore. As I mentioned before, spending more time on Kashyyyk would have made sense. However, I think it makes sense with the events that will take place in the second season of episodes. Next week we do have the 2 episodes on the same day. In my opinion, these episodes look to expand the clone trooper issues with the titling of the Clone Conspiracy. Now the show should be focusing on this in my opinion. However, I would love to learn more about what happens to Gungi at some point soon. Hopefully he comes back in Season 2. We see the clone troopers note the lightsaber marks on the tank. One report back to Imperial Command, and we know this would attract the attention of the Inquisitors. However, which Inquisitor remains to be a question in my mind. It would be nice to see Jason Isaacs guest star as a Grand Inquisitor again. That is unlikely to happen for now, and realistically, do we know the time zone of when the Inquisitors came about? Was it so soon after Order 66, or was it about a year or two? In terms of thinking about the episode overall, this follows a similar pattern to others. The clones started by doing a mission for Sid, but does not go to plan. However, clones end up saving a life and others by rescuing and returning Gungi home to Kashyyyk. Therefore, they've done something much better in my opinion. Additionally, the episode gives a look at the early days of the planet before we see it in such likes of Jedi Fallen Order and other Star Wars media. Ultimately, what do you think of this episode? For me, it was one of my favorites in Season 2 so far. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to keep up to date with the latest Star Wars news, lore, and more. You can also follow us on social media as well, but make sure to let us know what you think in the video comment section below. Because if you're talking Star Wars, then we want to hear about it. That's it for myself on Star Wars Now. I've been Captain Jack, and we'll see you next time. May the Force be with you. Goodbye.